Last week I shared something that's been on my heart for a while. How do we keep showing up after one of those really hard days? The days when you're still hurting, but your young adult seems to have moved on. This week, I want to take that conversation one step further, because after enough hard days, another question begins to surface. How do I keep showing up month after month, year after year? Not because parenting has become harder, and not because parenting has become easier, but because the journey is longer than I ever imagined. When my children were younger, I believed growth would look something like climbing a staircase. You work harder, you learn something. You heal, you take another step, and eventually arrive somewhere. Today, I don't see it that way anymore. Growth feels much less like climbing stairs and much more like walking a trail. Some days the path is beautiful. Some days it's really steep. Some days you're certain you're making progress, and some days all you see are trees, no overlook, no destination. Nothing that tells you you're getting closer. Those are the days discouragement quietly slips in. It starts asking questions like, is any of this making a difference? Am I changing anything? How long am I supposed to keep doing this? I've asked those questions too, more than once. Maybe you have too. Today, I want to talk about what I've learned about staying the course, especially on the days when I can't see where the trail is leading. Because I've come to believe something that's changing the way I parent. Lasting change rarely comes from intensity. It comes from consistency. I don't think any of us begins this journey expecting quick fixes. At least I didn't. I knew parenting children who had experienced early trauma was going to be different. I knew healing would take time. I knew there would be setbacks. But if I'm really honest, I think I was carrying around an unwritten bargain. Maybe you have one too. It sounded something like this. If I keep learning, if I go to therapy, if I read the books, if I work on myself, if I stop rescuing, if I become calmer, if I set boundaries, eventually I'll begin to see the difference. Not perfection, just enough evidence to reassure me that I was headed in the right direction. And sometimes I do see it. Sometimes my son accepts a boundary without arguing. Sometimes my daughter shares something she never would have shared a few years ago. Sometimes I notice that I am calmer than I used to be. Those moments matter. They remind me why this work is worth doing. But then there are other seasons where it feels like nothing is changing. The same arguments, the same struggles, the same disappointments. And if we're not careful, those seasons can convince us that our efforts aren't making any difference. I've learned that's one of the biggest lies that discouragement tells. Because discouragement measures progress by what I can see today. Growth doesn't always work that way. Sometimes growth is happening quietly, beneath the surface, long before any of us can see it. And sometimes, the first person who changes isn't our young adult, it's us. I've noticed something about discouragement. It rarely announces itself. It doesn't come crashing through the front door. It slips in quietly, almost unnoticed. And before long, it begins telling a story. For me, it sounds something like this. Maybe none of this is making a difference. Maybe I'm the only one trying. Maybe I've been doing all this work for nothing. Maybe I am fooling myself. Maybe this is simply how it's always going to be. Those thoughts don't usually come after one difficult day. They come after months, sometimes years, after you've kept showing up, kept learning, kept trying to respond differently, and life still feels messy. I've learned that discouragement has a way of shrinking our perspective. It takes years of growth and asks us to judge them by this week. It takes hundreds of small decisions and tells us they don't matter because today's conversation didn't go well. It asks us to forget how far we've come and focus only on what's still unfinished. I have fallen into that trap more than once. I have one difficult interaction with one of my young adults, and before I know it, my mind isn't thinking about the conversation anymore. It's rewriting the whole story. Suddenly, I'm wondering if anything has changed, if anything I've learned matters, if I'll ever experience the relationship I hope for. That's what discouragement does. It quietly replaces truth with conclusions. But here's what I'm learning. Just because discouragement is speaking doesn't mean it's telling the truth. Sometimes it's simply reminding me that I'm tired. Sometimes it's reminding me that I care deeply. Sometimes it's reminding me that this journey has been long. I've stopped treating discouragement as evidence that I am on the wrong path. Instead, I've started seeing it as an invitation to pause, an invitation to reconnect with what I know is true, and to remember why I started walking this trail in the first place. Here's what I'm learning. Just because discouragement is speaking doesn't mean it's telling the truth. Sometimes it's simply reminding me that I'm tired. Sometimes it's reminding me that I care deeply. Sometimes it's reminding me that this journey has been long. I've stopped treating discouragement as evidence that I am on the wrong path. Instead, I've started treating it as an invitation to pause, to reconnect, because I know the truth, and to remember that I started walking this trail in the first place. So what do I do when discouragement starts telling me those stories? Honestly, I don't always recognize it right away. Sometimes I catch myself replaying conversations, questioning my decisions, wondering if I've handled something the wrong way, wondering if any of this work is making a difference. But eventually, I've learned to pause and ask myself a different question. Not, how do I feel? Because on those days, my feelings can be all over the place. Instead, I ask, what do I know? I know I love my children. I know reacting from fear has never brought us closer. I know healthy boundaries create more peace than constant rescuing. I know staying connected to myself helps me stay connected to them. And I know one of the discouraging seasons doesn't erase years of learning. When I return to what I know, my next step becomes much clearer, much easier, just clearer. I don't have to figure out the next 6 months. I don't have to solve the future. I don't even have to know how the story ends. I only have to choose what's mine today. Maybe today that means holding a boundary. Maybe it means saying less instead of more. Maybe it means taking a walk, calling a friend, going to work, laughing with my husband, enjoying a quiet evening, living my own life. Because one of the biggest changes I've experienced is this. I no longer believe an entire day has to rise and fall with my young adults' choices. That's what helps me stay the course. Not certainty, not visible results, just returning again and again to what I know is true.